Hello, loves. Welcome to the Live Your Freedom Now podcast. I'm Megan Colleen Johnson, and this podcast is dedicated to discussing dominant cultural narratives and beliefs, what I call dominant dogma, how this keeps you from thriving in life and business, and how to overcome that dogma by living your freedom now. While this path sounds clean and straightforward, the truth is, life and being human is messy. So around here, we value the both and. We'll hold space for where you're at and honor the freedom you'd like to see and feel within yourself. Hit subscribe to stay updated, and for more information about me, my work, and to download my free Claim Your Freedom Now journal guide and ecotherapy meditation, head to megscolleen.com. That's megscolleen.com. Hello, free thinker. Before we dive in, I want to remind you that my new book, which corresponds with this podcast, is available in paperback and hardcover. This book is your field guide for discovering your true self, and you can purchase it on my website, megscolleen.com, or snag your copy on Amazon by searching Live Your Freedom Now. Okay, let's get started. Today, I am writing to you from my current favorite cafe in Ventura. I have a chai latte to my right, my backpack at my feet, and the sun is shining on my face. It's an absolutely beautiful morning, and I'm feeling at peace. It's come up a few times in these self-check-ins, but my inner world has been a lot to navigate lately, so I'm also being with that tenderness and honoring the choices I'm currently making to support myself. As I pause to notice my inner and outer worlds, I encourage you to do the same. Notice where you are, the objects around you, the colors, the sounds. Not judging anything or labeling it as good or bad, simply noticing it. And notice any emotions that are present in your system as well. Again, not labeling them as good or bad, just saying hello, letting them know that you see them. This is a practice of personal freedom that you can utilize at any time. In today's episode, I am exploring the dominant dogma, I deserve this. First, a reminder of what dominant dogma is. Dominant dogma is a term I coined to encompass all the cultural narratives and beliefs which externally and subsequently internally as adaptive strategies tell you who you're supposed to be, how to do it, and what you need to buy to live that out. Now, today's dominant dogma has two sides to it. On one hand, it can indicate a sense of entitlement or a belief that one is entitled to something, whether or not they have done the work to deserve that title, experience, object, etc. However, it can also be a positive affirmation or self-talk, indicating that one has earned or accomplished something that they are proud of. In the case of today's podcast, we are going to start by focusing on looking at the phrase as a term of entitlement, and then evaluate how it can be an important phrase to claim, especially if you are someone with a lower self-esteem and or are currently growing your ego strength. 1. I deserve this as a term of entitlement. When this dominant dogma is internalized, it includes an innate belief that you deserve something even if you have not shown that you are deserving or have no direct knowledge that communicates this to be true. A simple example, believing that you deserve a free coffee because you dropped yours right after receiving it. Many of us have seen this scene play out, or perhaps you were that person. No judgment. It's all welcome here. We explore this together, and have witnessed the tension that can occur as a barista tries to determine how to appease the entitled client without perhaps going against customer policies. It was not the barista's fault that the coffee was dropped, yet the entitled customer has a belief that they deserve to have someone else handle their mistake, even if it was an accident. Carrying internalized beliefs like this is especially prominent for individuals who hold different levels of privilege and can often go under the radar of the one carrying the internalized entitlement without careful consideration. The result of this dominant dogma going unchecked, there are both individual and cultural consequences. Individually, a sense of entitlement can lead people to feel a false sense of superiority and entitlement to privileges, status, and resources. This can result in a lack of empathy and consideration for others, and a tendency to prioritize one's own needs and desires over those of others, in the worst way. It can also lead to a lack of motivation to work hard and achieve goals, as one may feel that they are already entitled to certain benefits or rewards. Culturally, unchecked entitlement can lead to systemic injustices and inequalities, such as what we often see in the United States regarding the rights of LGBTQIA folks, BIPOC folks, disabled folks, and other marginalized people groups. When certain groups believe they are entitled to certain resources, opportunities, or privileges based on their social status or identity, they may be more likely to lobby for policies that benefit them at the expense of others. Additionally, on the individual and cultural front, unchecked entitlement can contribute to a culture of blame and victim blaming, where individuals or groups who are perceived to be less deserving of privileges or resources are blamed for their own struggles or disadvantaged status. This is not personal freedom, nor does it support collective freedom. How do you know if you're wielding the narrative, "I deserve this," from a place of entitlement? One tool that can help is called the addressing framework. The addressing framework was developed by Pamela Hayes, a clinical psychologist and professor of psychology at Antioch University in Seattle. She introduced the framework in her book, Addressing Cultural Complexities in Practice, Assessment, Diagnosis, and Therapy, in 2008. The acronym for addressing stands for A, age and generational influences, D, disability status, D, religion and spiritual beliefs, R, race and ethnicity, E, ethnicity and national origin, S, socioeconomic status, S, sexual orientation, I, indigenous heritage, N, national origin, and G, gender. By examining each of these categories and how they intersect with one's identity, the framework can help you recognize where you may hold privilege or be disadvantaged in society. For example, someone who is a white male who is gay may hold some privilege in society based on their race, but is less privileged based on their sexual orientation. Someone who is Black and middle class may experience systemic disadvantage based on their ethnicity, but stability based on their socioeconomic status. This framework is not an end-all be-all to grasping and integrating your entitlement. This topic is incredibly complex, but using tools like this are a great place to start. 2. I deserve this as a term to build ego strength and self-esteem. On the flip side, for folks who are working to build their self-esteem, the term "I deserve this" can be incredibly empowering and needed. In this context, the phrase "I deserve this" can serve as validation for one's innate belonging, self-worth, and owning the hard work of one's efforts and accomplishments. This can be particularly important for individuals who may struggle with feelings of inadequacy, imposter syndrome, or low self-esteem. So how do you wield this phrase in a supportive way that helps you, others, and the planet? 3 ways to use the phrase "I deserve this" to claim your self-worth. 1. Acknowledge your wins. When you find yourself doubting your abilities or feeling like you don't deserve success or recognition, remind yourself of all the hard work and effort you've put in. Take a moment to reflect on your wins, achievements, and progress, no matter how small. Then use the phrase, "I deserve this," to acknowledge your hard work and celebrate. 2. Practice self-compassion. We all make mistakes and experience setbacks from time to time. When this happens, it's important to practice self-compassion. With this in mind, when you feel what Brené Brown calls a shame spiral coming on, take a pause and practice self-compassion by telling yourself, I deserve to be kind and gentle with myself, even when I make mistakes. You're a human, and yes, you can and should take responsibility for your mistakes. And also, you are still worthy of love and respect. 3. Set boundaries and prioritize self-care. Building on the last tip, sometimes we can feel like we don't deserve to take care of ourselves or prioritize our own needs and desires. This can lead to burnout, exhaustion, and lack of fulfillment. To combat these experiences, use the phrase, I deserve this, to set boundaries and prioritize self-care. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed and need to take a mental health day, tell yourself, I deserve to prioritize my own well-being and take a break when I need it. Again, you can and should notice where you hold responsibilities and how you can best show up for them amidst your human experience. And also, you are worthy of self-care and self-tending. And that is where I'm going to leave you today. In 2 weeks, I will share a bit more about the freedom beyond the phrase, I deserve this, by offering the myth of narcissists. Don't think you need that episode? Stick it out with me, because as I just shared, while I deserve this can result in entitlement, we also need a dash of that narcissistic energy so we can take care of ourselves and remember our innate worth as living beings. It's going to be an interesting mythical episode, and I can't wait to share it with you. Additionally, I want to remind you that my new book, which corresponds with this podcast, is available in paperback and hardcover. I mentioned it at the beginning of this episode, and I'm mentioning it again. You can snag your copy at megscolleen.com or head to Amazon and search Live Your Freedom Now. I'm sending you all so much love, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Freedom is yours. Thank you for joining me for another Live Your Freedom Now podcast episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm always so grateful for a 5-star rating, and you can learn more about me, my work, and download my free Claim Your Freedom Now journal guide and ecotherapy meditation at megscolleen.com. That's megscolleen.com. I'll see you next time, and as always, freedom is yours.